uh, in West Covina now on the 110 freeway. Vincent Avenue is going to be the next exit here, according to our Skyview 5. But again, the suspect just relatively going with the flow of traffic. You can see he found a little bit of space there to go a little bit faster, and there's our CHP unit still very closely behind. They just clocked him at 40 miles an hour. We're getting into a little bit more of a little bit more traffic here, but if past is any indication of what he's going to do in the future, we don't really expect him to try and do anything crazy when he gets to that traffic. He's just been slowing down and kind of going with the traffic. So who knows? He may be just trying to go back home. He had his fun driving away, and now he just wants to go back home. We are a little bit of a ways out from Rialto, so if that's where he wants to go, it's going to take a little while, especially as we get closer to the 4 p.m. hour.
No, at the pace he's going now, if he could keep this up, it would probably take him about another 20 to 30 minutes to get to Rialto. But if he thinks he's going home, unfortunately, that's not going to happen for him.
Well, and it's never great at all. Pursuits are never safe. They can be very dangerous, but it's never good when this driver is possibly driving under the influence. And so I think they have to take that into account as well, not pushing him too much where he begins to speed too much here on the freeway, just sort of monitoring to see what his actions are here.
Yeah, we're continuing on the 10 eastbound Azusa Avenue now. CHP just clocked him at 60 miles an hour, speeding up just a little bit, doing a little bit of merging back and forth between traffic, but that primary CHP unit keeping very close. That's going to be a Baldwin Park CHP unit. We're still in that area, so once we get further down the 10 freeway, you may see CHP handed off to one of the departments that are further east along the 10, but this is one of those pursuits that, well, you know, he's kind of merging without signaling there. So when pursuits kind of go like this, we don't really see them do anything too crazy or too drastic. They're just kind of going with the flow of traffic, and this might be one of those, which might be the safer option. We'd rather him do that than drive excessively in speed, and we would actually rather him stay on the freeway than go onto surface streets and drive very erratically. But here he is coming very close to another car in front of him in lanes there. And now other cars are getting out of the way, and that's exactly what CHP wants you to do. When you hear those sirens, when you see those lights, you should definitely move to the side of the road and kind of clear the way for CHP. This blue car hopefully gets out of the way pretty quickly here, and that's again what CHP wants as they continue following this suspect. Still in the West Covina area, eastbound 10, 40 coming up on 40, 50 miles an hour. Now we're seeing the suspect speed up just a little bit. We're now hitting like 65, 70 miles an hour. And that could be just an effect of the freeway opening up a little bit. But again, we're not seeing those 100-mile-an-hour speeds that we saw earlier. Maybe that suspect is sobering up a little and maybe realizing what he's done and just kind of what he, realizing he shouldn't drive erratically, and really what he should be thinking is, I need to pull over right now. So we'll see if that suspect does that or if he actually tries to go the whole way towards back to where this started in the Rialto area.
Well, unfortunately, it looks like that is exactly what is happening at this point. Again, this is a pursuit that started apparently near a bar in Rialto or at a bar. We're told that the driver actually called the Rialto police and said that he was having some problems from possibly drinking too much in a local bar there. When law enforcement arrived on the scene, he decided to take off. Bad decision. Rialto police took off in pursuit. It's now been taken over by the CHP. He was heading in on the 10 freeway in a westerly direction toward downtown Los Angeles, but at some point turned around and is now on the 10 freeway eastbound in the West Covina area and possibly trying to head back to Rialto, but hopefully sometime before then he'll pull over and give up. But at this point, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. He has exceeded speeds again of over 100 miles per hour. When we joined the pursuit, he was driving a lot slower in some heavier traffic, but now he's reaching speeds of up to 70, 75 miles per hour.
And law enforcement will have to keep in consideration the fact that he did call them because we have seen ambush situations before, so they're going to have to keep that in mind when and if this comes to an end. Also, too, those tinted windows, we don't know if this was his vehicle or if someone was sitting in the car waiting for him that had possibly been at the bar with him, or if he is solo in there. It's very difficult to see. These are even darker than normal. I would probably say these are like the illegal black tinting, because they're super dark where you can't see anything, not only on the back but also on those side windows. So it makes it very difficult for law enforcement because they're following from above as well.
Yeah, guys, and when we were kind of looking in through the windshield, it was a little hard to tell, but I think I may have seen some movement in the passenger seat. I wasn't sure if that was the suspect, you know, with his hand in the his or her hand in the passenger seat reaching for something, but I did see some movement there, so it is a possibility that there may be more than one person in this car. Of course, that is always something that law enforcement takes into consideration. It's always a possibility. So if and when this suspect stops, they're going to take every precaution to make sure that the vehicle is clear and make sure that no one else is in that vehicle. In the San Dimas area now, continuing eastbound on the 10, again, a little bit of traffic here, 30 miles an hour, and we'll see what this suspect tries to do. I think he was trying to merge left there, but that semi was in the way. Now, maybe enough traffic to bring this to a complete stop, and CHP going 2-3 wide now, trying to keep oncoming traffic a little bit out of the way. Now this suspect in the far right lane, driving a little bit more radically than we've seen. I think it may be setting into the suspect that his minutes are numbered. So, you know, at this point, it is very hard to tell what's going on in the suspect's mind and tell what he's going to do or how he's going to drive. Coming up on Kellogg Drive now, still eastbound 10, CHP Buena Park still close behind, getting really close there. We're going to see what they do. A couple of cars kind of getting by on the outside. That's not something you want to do. When you see those lights and sirens, you want to either pull to the side and stay behind. Don't try and get in the way of things here. Let's see what this vehicle is in front. This might be an LA County Fire Department vehicle, which oddly enough was, you know, a fire vehicle was involved in the earlier pursuit we got today, but that one's not involved in this one. Still following this black sedan. You saw the CHP air unit fly through the picture there. That's the one that's now calling the shots here. You had the LA County Sheriff's air unit earlier calling the shots from the air, but now that the CHP helicopter is here, they're going to take it over. Now we're slowing down, and I'm going to widen out the picture here and try and figure out why. Let's see. It looks like it might be just that lane that's slowing down, which makes me question why the suspect doesn't just merge to the left and try and pass this, unless he's trying to exit. So we'll keep a close eye and kind of see what happens here. In the meantime, while we have a view in the windshield, I'll try and push in close. And guys, I think I see someone in the passenger seat there, if I'm not mistaken. Again, it's pretty hard to tell from here, but that appears to be the case. And we're still in that far right lane, but the suspect did not take that exit. So for some reason, the suspect is just content to wait in traffic and wait behind this other vehicle here. This it actually happens to be an LA County Fire Department vehicle. Maybe unbeknownst to them that there's a pursuit behind them, but maybe they're realizing it now when they see all these lights and sirens from CHP. Suspect almost coming to a complete stop. I would almost expect in that situation maybe CHP try to block the freeway and draw their weapons and start making commands to the driver in hopes that they might think about it. What's that?
Gabe, have you passed the 57 freeway yet?
I don't believe so. I don't believe we passed the 57 yet.
All right, there's a couple of, it looks like a couple of hazards on the road, maybe possibly an accident. So that's probably what may be causing things to slow down a bit. Not one, but two different hazards, according to what I'm seeing on a satellite map right now.
It looks like he's going to take this exit.
Yes, it does look like he's going to exit on Corona. And actually, as I look out the helicopter window, I see the 57 interchange with the 10 freeway. But this road is going to take the suspect kind of away from that. So we'll just kind of follow along and see what happens here. This might be the southbound 57. I don't have the traffic information in front of me, but were you guys saying there was an incident on the southbound 57?
It was on the 10, so if he's on the 57 now he's heading down toward Orange County if he's on the 57.
Yeah,
so.
now on the 57 southbound, just on the edge of Pomona, and now we see the suspect speeding up a little bit in that far right lane and speeding up. So again, not sure what's going on in this suspect's mind, kind of driving really slowly to start and then all of a sudden going really fast again. We're about 85 miles an hour in the fast lane, continuing on at high rates of speed now.
All right, Gabe, we do have a phoner right now with CHP, Rodrigo Jimenez. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, this is Lou Parker along with Glenn Walker, and can you kind of just give us heads up on what happened in the beginning here and how you guys are dealing with this pursuit?
Absolutely. We received notification that Rialto Police Department was in pursuit of a Mitsubishi Lancer around 2:40 this afternoon. It appears that this party called themselves in saying that they were drunk at a bar. The bar also called law enforcement saying that this person was drunk and took off and looked very impaired. This is extremely dangerous for them to be impaired driving, especially at some of the speeds that we've seen him reach. Around the 10 freeway in the Upland area is when the Highway Patrol took over the pursuit from Rialto Police Department, and we are still engaged actively in this pursuit.
Have you ever heard of a situation like that where somebody actually calls law enforcement and says, "Hey, I'm too impaired to drive," and then when police show up, they actually hop in the vehicle and take off?
You know, oddly enough, we have heard of people calling themselves as impaired. We've seen those electric message board signs that say call 911 to report drunk drivers, and every once in a while, it's not a usual occurrence. People will call themselves in.
And how do you guys train to follow someone who is likely impaired over someone who is it's just a pursuit? I don't want to call it a simple pursuit because all pursuits are dangerous, but having someone driving under the influence and even the bar calling in and saying that they were highly intoxicated, it has to be tricky.
It definitely makes us very concerned, especially knowing that they are possibly impaired and their judgment is not going to be where it should be. Obviously, their fine motor skills are going to be impaired by the alcohol that they may have consumed at the bar, their reaction. Right now, we see that there's portions of the freeways that are moving, but as we get closer to this evening, on a Friday evening, we know that traffic is going to slow down, and we could only hope that this results in the driver pulling over and it being a safe process for us to put them in handcuffs and investigate further.
So as right now, the vehicles are staying pretty close to him, and sometimes you guys pull back into a monitor mode. Right now, you're staying close to him. Any particular reason why? Just because of the impairment?
You know, I'm not exactly sure what the officers are seeing at this very moment. They must feel that by them following at that distance that you're mentioning, he's not one of those drivers that drives extra reckless just because we're following behind them. We've seen pursuits where they know that we're behind us and they're trying to do everything possible to shake us off. And many times we'll pull back because we don't want to encourage them to drive in that manner.
Are you watching him right now along with us? Can you see the video?
I see video, but I believe it's delayed.
Yeah, it looks like he's reversing. He's come to a stop at a T, but he looked like he reversed.
Yeah, it's like he backed up to get behind the line, which, you know, would normally be the right thing to do. Okay, this unusual situation. We've got this, this semi hauling dirt and a couple of trailers with dirt. That's kind of impeding what law enforcement might be trying to do there. But you see there's two black and white units, one directly behind him, one a couple of lanes over, 3 lanes over off to the side. Well, okay.
Well, it looks like he waited for the light.
Yeah. So he just made a left-hand turn and And he's continuing on.
Now he's in Industry at this point. He did exit
Looks like
about
Grand Avenue
10 minutes ago.
And Grand Avenue, and yeah.
And there's a slight chance, Gabe, does it look like he took an exit that's going to take him, or is this
He's
a
getting right back on the
road
freeway.
that he's headed back onto the freeway?
Gabe, you back on the 57 South?
Yeah, guys, we're back on the 57, continuing southbound here, and we have some additional information that could really up the stakes of this pursuit here. You saw that other CHP unit that was parked kind of to the side. What that CHP unit was trying to do was they were trying to confirm a report that they heard that there was a child in the lap of a passenger inside of this car. They were not able to specifically confirm that, but just the fact that we have that report really raises the stakes here and raises the danger level, especially if there are any other children involved as we continue here southbound on the 57 freeway, leaving Diamond Bar.
Wow. Okay, well, we just spoke with an officer from, or a deputy from CHP, and he basically said that this guy did call in. He did confirm that, and that it's not anything that's out of the ordinary. It's probably rare, but something that they took seriously, and then this guy took off. But, you know, gosh, if that's true with the child in the seat of the lap of the passenger, this could be a domestic situation. This could be something just trying to get attention. Again, though, driving under the influence in a situation like this is never great, and they said that it's a big concern with the motor skills and reaction time. Both will be affected, and now it looks like his speeds are beginning to pick up again. He's on the 57 South right now in Diamond Bar.
Yeah, still with us on the phone is Rodrigo Jimenez from the CHP. This kind of changes the situation than what we've heard now, that there could be a child in the car.
Definitely, that would be perhaps the worst case scenario if there is a child in the vehicle. The last thing we want are any bystanders or any innocent victims to be injured because of a person's choice to flee from us. It definitely changes the response that we may have, especially at the conclusion or a termination of a pursuit.
So in your opinion, you guys will just basically stay with him as he continues, but, you know, knowing that new information, maybe not as pushing it.
We want to stay with the vehicle as long as they're not doing anything extremely dangerous, driving wrong way or any of that sort. The pursuits can change from, you know, we're just pursuing a vehicle who's traveling in the same direction, a vehicle that's maybe driving a little bit fast but stopping when they're supposed to. But once we know that there is a passenger on board, especially a child, that will definitely change our tactics a little bit.
Gabe, are you still up in Sky 5?
Yes, we are still continuing southbound here, passing Diamond Bar Boulevard. Suspect going a little faster than the rate of traffic now in the number 3 lane, but we're getting some other heavier volume now, I would say, as we head down into the Orange County area. But, you know, just from judging from what the suspect is doing, like, we're no longer headed towards Rialto. So at this point, the end goal is anybody's guess, and that's a real concern, especially if that report turns out to be true, that there's other victims in the car with the suspect. That's definitely something that we want to watch out for.
He's definitely
hopefully
picked up the speed here, Gabe. He's up to 80 miles an hour now.
Yeah, very, very fast. No longer going at the rate of traffic like he was doing on the 10 freeway, and that definitely ups the danger of this pursuit. But I'm going to widen out here and see if CHP is staying pretty close, and they're not letting their eyes off him. You have these 3 units continuing relatively close. We haven't heard anything about a pit yet or spike strips, but normally those would kind of be off limits in a freeway situation, especially at these speeds. But maybe if we get into a little bit more traffic, as I look ahead to the south out the helicopter window, There doesn't appear to be too much very heavy traffic on the 57 freeway. Definitely a lot of volume, but nothing that would bring this car to a complete stop that I can tell kind of looking ahead about 7 or 8 miles.
Is a 60 freeway still an option, or have you passed that?
Let's see here. I believe that is still an option as I try and get my bearings here.
Yeah, kind of hard to tell at this point, but I think he's probably beyond that. Maybe in Brea.
Yeah, I think actually you're right. I think Brea is going to be the next area, and definitely well into Orange County. And at that point, it's going to be anyone's guess where this suspect goes.
Again, he's been on several freeways. We've seen him on the 10 eastbound and the westbound, now on the 57 south, and this starting a while back, actually. If you're just joining us, apparently this driver called Rialto police and said that he had been drinking at a bar and needed help, and the bar actually called in as well, confirming that this guy was heavily intoxicated. When they showed up, he jumped in his vehicle and took off. And as of right now, we can't confirm it, but there is word that possibly there is a passenger in the car, and unfortunately there are reports that there could be a child in the lap of the passenger. This vehicle has driven slowly. He's driven at high rates of speed.
100 miles an hour at one point.
Yeah, he's gone through. He's waited for a stoplight at one point, but then other times has driven erratically on side streets and mainly stayed on the freeways here. We thought he was possibly backtracking because he turned around, but it looks like he's heading in a direction that we haven't been at all during this pursuit. Again, under the influence, which affects motor skills and reaction time, which is a scary situation for the pursuing officers. CHP took over this pursuit, and we just spoke with one of the members from CHP, and he was basically saying that this is a big concern for them, especially with the impairment, and now taking it to the next level with a possibility of reports of a child in the lap of a passenger.
Okay. Rodrigo Jimenez from the California Highway Patrol still with us. If he still wants to get to Rialto, if he comes up here on the 91 East, he could still get back there, correct?
If he goes on 91 East, he would. He might get to the, I guess, the east portion of Rialto. It would be closer to San Bernardino, Riverside.
It's super frustrating because, I mean, at least he's not swerving in and out, and, you know, he hasn't gone much more than, I guess, 79, 80 miles an hour at this point. But still, it's like not knowing what this driver is capable of is the unnerving part, I'm sure, as you guys train for pursuits like this.
Right, and he at this point hasn't seemed to be driving as erratic as we've seen other drivers trying to flee from us. However, again, as we don't know how much he had to drink, when the last time he had something to drink. So if he had a couple of drinks, a couple of shots right before leaving the bar, the alcohol could actually be rising, and that would be a concern for us. Mm-hmm. Again, that would affect his impairment and, like you mentioned, the fine motor skills and just driving in general. Yeah.
You know, with the driving conditions, would you rather prefer these kind of conditions where it's a little wide open and maybe not as dangerous, or sometimes it's better if the traffic's heavier because at least he slows down, and a lot of times that's when you can end these things? There's
absolutely no right way of answering that, I guess, because if we're going at faster speeds, you're going to have a bigger crash, if there's a crash, and hopefully that doesn't result in this vehicle crashing another innocent bystander. At slower speeds, you may not have as big as an impact, but again, with more traffic, you increase the opportunity of having a collision.
Okay, so it looks like this white car is this vehicle is sort of trying to block this car. If you can see here,
he is. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, which, you know, law enforcement say never to do, but he looks like he was trying to slow him down. He sort of did the cat and mouse with him there for a second, but he got around him.
Not something that law enforcement wants you to do. They would rather you not involve yourself in pursuits in any situation, and we saw that white truck did appear to be kind of trying to block the suspect, but then he relented and let the suspect pass. That's definitely safe for everyone in this situation. As we zoom in close, we got a very good look at the suspect's hands here. I did see a cell phone in the suspect's hand. You can see that right there. And then the left hand just on the wheel, pretty relaxed. That's a very relaxed posture, I would say. So, you know, you can kind of take that to what that would mean as far as his thought process and where he might be going. But we're in the Fullerton area now, approaching CSU Fullerton, continuing on the 57 South. As you guys mentioned, if the suspect does decide to take the 91, that could take him towards a Corona, and then he could take the 15 back to Rialto if he or she so chooses. So that's always something to watch out for. But with all of these pursuits, they're just so hard to predict, and we also don't know what's going through this suspect's mind, if he's possibly under the influence of alcohol or anything like that at this time. So we're going to keep a close eye on this, and we're also efforting more information about those reports about a possible child in the car. We're trying to confirm that for you guys right now, because as you guys were saying, that would definitely change the tactics that CHP would use in this situation.
Well, we did see that CHP officer, when this driver was properly adhering to the rules and waiting at the red light, the CHP officer, two were behind him, and then the other one pulled up sort of at an angle to the right, sort of to try to confirm that that possibly was happening. So that word has been put out there, just no confirmation yet.
Yeah, we were hearing the radio traffic from CHP when that officer was doing that, but from my understanding, that officer was not able to confirm that due to the tinted windows. So at this point, we just have the report at this time, and we're just going off the report. And unless the suspect comes to a stop again due to traffic or something like that, or if the suspect gets onto surface streets and stops again, until that happens, we may not get another opportunity to have an officer on the ground get one of those up-close looks in one of these windows, because from the air, it's almost impossible to see through these tinted windows. This looks like, you know, limo-style tint, very dark on the rear and the side windows, including the driver's side window and the passenger side window, which law enforcement definitely does not appreciate, because in situations like this, it makes it very hard to determine what the suspect is doing and if there's anyone else in the car with the suspect.
Gabe, if you pass to the 91, it looks like that option's already passed now.
Let me get my bearings here. We've been zoomed in a little pretty close here. I'm going to widen out and just kind of show you guys what we're looking at here. This is going to be in the city of Anaheim. We still have the 51 freeway, and yes, he did pass that interchange for the 91 freeway, so we're continuing on southbound.
Well, if he stays on the 57, he's going to go right past, just to give people an idea, next couple of minutes he'll be driving right past Angel Stadium. Yep,
and it's getting it will begin to get a little bit more crowded, even though, you know, with coronavirus, our numbers on traffic not as heavy in the past, but it's coming up on 4 o'clock Friday afternoon in the Anaheim area, so he could get stuck a little bit with some traffic, but then of course he always has the HOV options, but he has not taken those options several times. Yeah. He sort of stays and waits behind on the far right, doesn't jump into the HOV lane, which is interesting. Again, cat and mouse kind of feel.
Well, it looks like Gabe's heavier traffic now, I assume. Yeah,
heavier traffic here, and a little update as far as our coverage plans here. We are having to maneuver around one of the temporary flight restrictions in the area. If I'm not mistaken, that might be the Disneyland flight restriction. I don't think there's one for a Angels game quite yet, but we are definitely in that area approaching Angel Stadium, but we're definitely getting close to the Disneyland temporary flight restriction, which means we kind of have to go a little bit outside of where we want to be to shoot this, but we're going to use our zoom lens up here in Sky 5 and stay as close as we can to keep with this pursuit.
Well, you'll be fine with Angel Stadium. They're on the road in Houston, so you don't have to worry about them. But Disneyland definitely is a problem. So.
Well, the lanes on the other side are super backed up compared to his direction here. So interesting that inevitably will probably happen to him eventually. It'll be interesting what CHP decides to do.
Well, he's go ahead.
This is that kind of situation where, as I was mentioning before, you know, slower speeds give CHP the opportunity to consider a few different things. They can consider stopping traffic from passing by the suspect, and then maybe initiating a pit maneuver if the suspect stays below a certain miles per hour. The other option they can do, which is a little risky because we don't know if the suspect is armed, is another CHP unit can try and pass the vehicle and get eyes in the through the front windshield, excuse me, and try and get an idea of the number of people in the car and what we're dealing with as far as that is concerned. There we go. The suspect was behind the trees there. There's our primary CHP unit, and the suspect still continuing southbound on the 57 freeway. You'll have to ignore the bar at the top of the screen because the mapping system doesn't quite work when we're shooting this long, but as we get more closer directly overhead of the pursuit, then it'll give you a better idea of what streets the suspect is currently on.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, he's in an area now where you've got the 57, the 20, and the 5 freeway all kind of come together, and it just creates a lot of traffic, especially getting at this time of day.
The good old Orange Crush approaching the 4 p.m. hour. A lot of traffic through this area. Now that Disneyland is actually open, you might also have tourist traffic in the area in addition to people just commuting and getting around town. So this is going to be an interesting situation to see what the suspect actually does, if he, you know, what direction the suspect does, or if the suspect just stays at a stop like what he's doing here. There's let's see. That suspect did not need to stop there. So definitely unsure what's going on through the suspect's mind for him to come to a complete stop on the freeway and now continuing. So you know, this is a situation where we're very unsure what's going on through the mind of this suspect. He's starting to do some very erratic things and things that the normal person wouldn't do. So that definitely also raises the stakes for CHP. We're getting a little bit closer on the south end of the temporary flight restriction, so you should see the picture clear up just a little bit as we continue further south, approaching the Orange Crush, and then we'll see what direction the suspect takes from there.
Well, you also have to think, you know, if there is, in fact, a child on the passenger's lap, was the child at the bar as well, or were they sitting in the car waiting on this guy to come out of the bar? So there are a lot of questions that are a little vague as to what's happening and what happened when that phone call was put into Rialto police, not only from allegedly this driver saying that he needed help, but also the bar calling in to say that he was impaired, highly impaired.
A lot of questions for sure, and we don't know if there was, you know, we still can't get a good eye on the passenger seat to see if there indeed is maybe a passenger in addition to the child, which we're still trying to get a solid confirmation on. But we don't know if the vehicle was there waiting with the child in it. We don't know what was going through the suspect's mind at that point, or what led him to get in the car and start driving away. But we're a long ways from Rialto now, so at this point it's anyone's guess where the suspect goes.
Well, if he continues where he's going now, he's going to end up on the 5 freeway in South Orange County. And it looks like that might be the case. And there you see Anaheim Stadium. So he's passing Anaheim Stadium right now at this point. And that also takes the option away of going on the 20. So the 20 freeway is out. He continues on the 57, and eventually here he'll get down in the Tustin area, and he will hit the 5 freeway. And at that point, he's got an option to go north or south. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, continuing southbound, all these CHP units still following. You see them using tactics like trying to block the the on-ramps that lead to the southbound 57. That's to try and lessen the traffic that they have to deal with in this pursuit. But you see, there's already plenty of traffic on the freeway, you know, for this pursuit suspect to deal with. Apologize for the picture here. We're having to increase our elevation to go over the temporary flight restriction. So we're kind of shooting through a lot of moisture here, and that's why you see the little bit of haze in the picture there. But as we get a little bit closer, we're seeing the suspect vehicle a little more clear, and that CHP unit continuing to follow. Now pretty much in the city of Orange here, definitely in Orange County now.
And still not at high rates of speed, just sort of in the 40s, upper 40s.
Right.
Now, of course, right when I say that, now he's picking it up, going around the edge there, up into the 70s, 60, 70. It's like he punches it, and then, as we just saw a little bit ago, too, it came to a complete stop on the freeway.
Yeah, definitely unsure what's going on through the suspect's mind right now. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's taking the on-ramp to the 5 South, but this is just where you have a bunch of freeway passes, lots of different places for this suspect to go, but we'll try and keep an eye on it and see exactly where he ends up. So bear with us here as we keep a close eye here.
Yeah, it does look like he got on the 5 South.
Yeah.
So now officially he's been on the 10 both directions, the 57, and now the 5.
Yeah, we've seen him on the 10 freeway, on the 57, and now the 5 continuing southbound. Now that we've seen him out and maybe not continuing southbound, he's taking an exit here. This looks like 17th Street. We'll follow along, see what happens. Suspect looks like he might be using the shoulder there to get around some traffic back in the appropriate lane here. That CHP unit getting really close. We haven't heard if they've been approved for a pit maneuver just yet, but we're going to wait and see what happens as he merges into traffic here. An erratic move to the left into the center median there, going in the left turn lane. Really glad he didn't go into oncoming traffic there. This appears to be Broadway and Santa Clara Avenue. You know, he's not going around cars, which is good, except he did do that. He was in the left turn lane, and now he's continuing straight through Broadway in the Santa Ana area.
All right, again, this is a pursuit that began in Rialto. We're told the driver of this vehicle actually called the Rialto police and said that he was impaired, maybe he had too much to drink in a bar. The people in the bar also called the police when police arrived. The driver of this vehicle apparently took off, pursued by Rialto police, got on the 10 freeway westbound. CHP eventually took over the pursuit. He ended up getting off the freeway, getting back on, taking the 10 eastbound, and then southbound on the 57 freeway. Did get off briefly and then got right back on, and took the 57 all the way down to Anaheim. We saw him then merge onto the 5 freeway south, and after a couple of exits, getting off on surface streets and now in Santa Ana. And this pursuit is much more dangerous. And again, there's a possibility there could be a child in the car with him or her.
Here we go. CHP getting really close. We might see a pit here, guys. They've been approved for a pit, and the suspect speeds up just a little bit, and the CHP officer lays off just a little bit. I think the officer saw that oncoming traffic on the left side and decided against the pit maneuver, but that appears to be what CHP may be thinking about doing here pretty soon as we're on surface streets going on slower speeds. But what we're seeing now, that's a good thing. The suspect isn't necessarily running red lights, and as I say that, okay, that's a green, but he's going to make a U-turn here on 17th and Flower, and we're coming back eastbound on Flower, and CHP getting really close again on that left bumper. Oh, they're getting extremely close, and there goes the pit. There goes the pit. The back bumper has been taken off the vehicle, but that didn't necessarily bring the car to a stop. So we'll see if CHP tries again. We'll try and get a better shot over these trees here, but then there's this traffic. So CHP isn't going to want to do the pit in this traffic here. A lot of people trying to get out of the way. They hear the sirens. They see the lights. That's definitely the right thing to do, but it is a red light here. So what the suspect does right now is anyone's guess. He's looking for that hole, and thankfully people are kind of making way, a parting of the seas, if you will, as the suspect continues through the intersection. But again, we're not seeing, you know, incredibly erratic driving like we've seen in pursuits past, and that's hopefully a good thing. But the suspect definitely does not want to stop. He's, you know, using drive-throughs of gas stations to get around, going in left turn lanes to continue straight. Definitely not aligned to following all of the laws to the T, and that is the dangerous part, and that's not something we want to see. As we zoom in closer, we see the passenger window has been lowered a little bit, so that might give us a little bit of a view to see if someone else is in the vehicle. Of course, we got a building in the way there. I'll continue panning right, and now we see the suspect speeding up a little bit. But again, no traffic in the immediate vicinity of the suspect, so we'll see if CHP tries for that pit maneuver one more time.
Well, and also, too, being on these surface streets, that's where a lot of the danger comes in as well. There are obviously pedestrians, there are these intersections, there's traffic, and then with his impairment, allegedly, you know, has been drinking this afternoon and called in and said that he was intoxicated, and that's where the judgment can get really dangerous and unfortunate, you know, where people are crossing the road or on a bicycle or just going through, you know, an intersection heading home.
Yeah, definitely a very dangerous situation. Anytime you have a pursuit on surface streets, even if the suspect is stopping for red lights, because the suspect is also making other erratic moves that can put people in danger, although that was a good thing that he at least slowed down before going in through that intersection there. Continuing on Santiago Street, let's see, to the east, still on surface streets, CHP backing off just a little bit. Maybe it's a bit too dangerous to do the pit right about now, but they're staying pretty close to him. They don't want to let this guy out of their sights. And you see another unit there. I believe that's from Orange PD. They're aware that there's a pursuit going on in their area, so they're going to keep a close eye on things and possibly help block streets to keep the just keep people out of harm's way. As we continue now, Santa Ana Boulevard. This is going to be another one of those major streets, a very wide street, but not too much traffic here. People are pulling over and kind of making way for the suspect to continue through. Approaching another intersection here. We'll see what the suspect does. I think that was a red light. I think the suspect just ran a red light there and almost hit that truck, but CHP stayed really close there, staying on this guy's tail. And we might be, the suspect has the option here to get back on the freeway. We'll see what he does here. I don't think he took that option. I think he's going to stay on surface streets, Grand Avenue now, still in the Santa Ana / Orange area.
Well, at this point, he's a long ways from Rialto, so he probably is not familiar with the area that he's in right now. And he appears to be just, you know, randomly driving down a street. He'll see a street that maybe looks good and he'll turn there. But to their credit, the CHP is staying right behind him. And I'm sure the Santa Ana police, as you said, are well aware of what's going on now. And hopefully this thing comes to an end soon, because it is after 4 o'clock now, and traffic will get heavier.
See now
red light here. Suspect just ran the red light, making a left turn here. I believe that's going to be 4th Street.
This is an older model sedan, a Mitsubishi, that may or may not have a passenger inside. We've heard reports that there's a possibility that a child was in the lap of the passenger. That has not been confirmed. CHP at one point at an intersection, when the car was abiding by traffic laws and was waiting for a red light, they pulled up to sort of look in there to try to get that confirmation, but they couldn't. He has stopped on freeways. He has sped excessive speeds on freeways, and now we're on the surface streets. At least he's not doing what we sometimes see, where they're going on the opposite side of the road and going against traffic, putting other people's lives in danger. Now he's got his window down, and then we start to see that casual body movement, you know, the window down, the arm out, opening it up to like sort of the cat and mouse.
Yeah, the suspect smoking a cigarette there, probably you know, he's got to be aware of where he's going to end up after this. So probably taking his last smoke break, so to speak. You can see the rear tail, the rear bumper, excuse me, is off this vehicle, and that came from an earlier attempt at a pit maneuver. We're going to try and maneuver ourselves around these buildings here to keep an eye on this pursuit. Continuing on Golden Circle Drive. These roads are a little smaller. He's Glenn, as you mentioned, he is probably not from the area, and he probably isn't familiar with where the roads go and things of that nature. So when that is the case, we often see these pursuit suspects taking weird turns, going down roads that they don't know, and the hope is maybe he takes one of those roads that is a dead end, and hopefully that's how this pursuit ends. We may have lost it here on the other side of these buildings. I think this might be the suspect here. Let's see here. Nope, that's not the suspect vehicle.
No.
This pursuit happened or started around 2:41, so we're coming up on an hour and a half of him evading law enforcement. He's been on several freeways on the 10
David,
east and westbound. As Gabe looks for him now, these buildings sometimes throw it off, especially with the intersections of the freeways. He's been on the 10, he's been on the 57, he's been on the 5, and then he exited and now in the Santa Ana area, driving on surface streets. Not massively excessive speeds, but, you know, running through red lights and definitely not wanting to stop. Are you...
Guys, bear with us here. We still believe the suspect is on the other side of this building, but we have a lot of air traffic in the area that we're trying to maneuver around. You see another CHP unit coming to the scene here. These are actually, these look like Santa Ana PD units.
Yeah, so
as we kind of widen out the shot and come over to the other side of this building here, we apologize, so just bear with us here. Bear with us here as we maneuver the air traffic, and there we go. That's the suspect vehicle. He appears to have come to a stop, and there he is, the suspect still in the vehicle. Of course, he picked a perfect place to stop right on the other side of those buildings from where we were located, but we just had to maneuver around the air traffic here to get a better shot for you guys. But here we go. The suspect is at a stop, and I'm just going to widen out here and make sure that that's not a red light. That suspect just decided to stop at. It very well may be. The suspect may just be stopped at that red light, but you see Santa Ana PD kind of blocking off the intersection just in case anything happens. And there we go.
And
the suspect making that right turn there, continuing on.
Well, he must have turned down that street and done a U-turn, and then and now he's back on the road where he was where we lost him.
It was so weird with the motorcycle with no officer on the motorcycle, just sitting there as well.
Looks like we're back on a freeway.
And we're back on the freeway now, but lots of traffic here on this on-ramp. We're going to maneuver around the sound barrier here to give you guys a better view here. Lots of obstacles here in Orange County, but we're our pilot here is maneuvering around that, and the air traffic continuing on. This is going to be, let's see here, I believe this is going to be the southbound 5 again.
Well, and you mentioned Orange PD, Santa Ana PD. We've got CHP, and Rialto was on it in the beginning. So a lot of resources trying to stop this guy.
Yeah, lots of resources, especially when a CHP's pursuit gets off the freeway and into a city. You see the and taking another off-ramp here. I believe this is going to be Newport Avenue towards the city of Santa Ana, or into the city of Santa Ana. But as I was saying, what you have here when a CHP pursuit gets off the freeway and onto surface streets is you have these other police departments. They don't necessarily enter the pursuit, but they will definitely help block traffic and try and secure any scene where the pursuit ends up, and try and make just make an easy path for CHP to do what they need to do. So you saw that happening there with Santa Ana PD. Not sure what the police motorcycle that we saw earlier there was doing, but they may have kind of stopped, gotten out of the vehicle, and they were probably ordering commands at the suspect, but you could see the suspect was in no condition to listen to those commands and is continuing on. We're at the 5 freeway and Newport Avenue again at a red light, and the suspect, hand out the window, cigarette in hand, just kind of waiting to see what he does next.
Well, if he drives straight ahead, is he going to end up back on the freeway again?
Let's see here. I don't believe so, at least not initially. As we widen out the picture, it looks like that stays kind of residential. But he is in that lane to do so. He is in the lane to continue straight if he wanted to continue on Nissan Road. So we'll see. It's a red light, and the suspect has been majority of the time stopping at red lights. And there we go, making a right turn now. Right turn. This is going to be on Newport, heading westbound now. We might be in the city of Tustin here now.
Yeah, it looks like.
You are.
And approaching the next intersection now and making a U-turn. So when we see the suspect making all these U-turns and making turns, seeming to be unsure of his direction, that's when you definitely get the feeling that the suspect is not familiar with the area.
Oh my goodness.
I, for one, am a little less familiar with Orange County than I am with LA County. So I kind of get what the suspect is going through in that regard, of just being unsure of where things are once you get onto surface streets in the Orange County area. A CHP unit getting very close to the suspect, possibly definitely thinking about performing a pit maneuver, going through an intersection there. That was a green light, but we're continuing on here, 30 miles an hour, maybe making another left turn as we approach this next intersection.
Two quick U-turns there on Newport Avenue.
What happened here? He's behind those trees.
Yeah, he's just sitting there.
He appears to come, he doesn't stop behind the line, so he's not completely following the rules, but he's stopping, and that's the good part. We're glad he's actually coming to a stop and not running these red lights, but what happens after that is not good, because he's making the U-turns. He's kind of peeling out and doing right or left turns, and at this point you don't really know where the suspect is going to go. So as he enters the intersection here, making a left turn on Walnut Avenue, not necessarily a major, but you see all these CHP units, 1, 2, 3, 4 CHP units continuing very close behind here. And since there's not a lot of traffic in the immediate vicinity, look, you see the CHP vehicle kind of leaning to the left side of your screen, maybe checking out the possibility of a pit maneuver, because we know that these primary officers have been given clearance to perform a pit maneuver to possibly bring this to an end, but maybe not quite yet. So we're continuing down Walnut Avenue, 10B lane, Tustin, California, and we're with this suspect in this black sedan, now pulling into a gas station here. So maybe the suspect is out of gas, or maybe this is where he's going to make a run for it. We'll try and get a better angle here. Luckily, he did not stop under that underpass, but we're entering a parking lot now. Let me widen out and see what this is for a 99-cent only store. This is where it becomes dangerous, because you have pedestrians, you have cars that maybe definitely have no idea that a pursuit is going by, but that CHP unit stays very close, and that's a good thing. So people hear the sirens, see the lights, and at least become attentive to know what's could be coming their way. And here we are back at this intersection. This is going to be Walnut Avenue and Red Hill Avenue. Suspect coming to a stop again. I'm a little surprised he didn't try and pull in front of this other silver sedan here, but the suspect at a stop again. While we're at this angle, I'm going to try and push in here and see if we can see anything through the windshield. And from this angle, I don't see a passenger, so that could be really good news. I just see the suspect moving around and possibly a few bags in the passenger seat. Of course, we don't know if there's someone in the rear of the vehicle, but at least from this angle, from my best judgment, it does not appear that there is anyone else in the passenger seat. Of course, the suspect looking a little more agitated now, no longer smoking that a cigarette, but at least he's come to a stop here. And just as I say that, light turns green and he continues on CHP, staying close behind, making a left turn on Red Hill Avenue, going northbound now.
This has definitely become a cat and mouse tease.
Well,
we've seen it so often where they get the casual behavior and confidence, and then just sort of cruising through. But as he went into that gas station, that's where it can definitely become dangerous, because people are coming in and out of the gas station. Then he circled around. And again, we have to remember this guy called police in Rialto about an hour and a half ago and said he was drunk and too drunk to drive. and the bar even called in as well. But when Rialto police showed up, he jumped in his vehicle and has been being pursued this entire time, initially by Rialto, and now CHP has picked it up. But we've also seen Santa Ana PD and Orange jump in and out depending on when he was in their city.
And he's a long ways from not only Rialto, but from where we picked this up, which was on the 10 freeway in Baldwin Park. And, you know, he was westbound, eastbound on the 10, southbound on the 57, onto the 5 freeway, jumped off the freeway to drive around in circles in the city of Santa Ana, and now in the city of Tustin. It's pretty obvious at this point that he really doesn't know, he or she does not know where they are. And I would think they're probably trying to figure out some way to get back on a freeway. But it hasn't worked out so far. But that drive to the gas station was really bizarre. And
CHP really wants to pit maneuver him.
Yeah.
And they did try pretty hard at one point, but just a slight miss. But, you know, the pit maneuver, you have to be super careful on oncoming traffic and depending on what situation you're in. But they definitely have been cleared to do that, maybe just not at this moment, obviously. But they tried.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they are underneath of the freeway right now, so we can't really see anything.
Yeah, we're under the overpass here. I think this might be the
him
car.
there. Yeah, that's it. That's
there
it.
We go. Again, coming to a stop, but not, you know, he doesn't want to come to a stop correctly.
Yeah.
Always a little bit ahead of that white line. But at least he's not running these red lights, as we've been saying. He has the option here of getting back onto the freeway, but we'll just have to wait and see what he does. CHP very close behind. You see they have 3 units here. One of them with their doors open. Can't quite see from here. Okay, there we go. Guns are drawn, and you know they're giving orders to this vehicle, to the driver, trying to tell him to put an end to this. Just there's no use in continuing on. And there he goes. He almost steps on the gas really quickly, and then makes a left turn there. Looks like this might be the northbound 5 now. Looks like we're heading northbound on the 5 now, back on the freeway, and CHP close behind again.
So now he was 5 south, and now he's headed 5 north. So again, just all over the place. The 10 both directions, the 57 now both directions on the 5. So who knows? Maybe he's headed back now to where he.
Well, if he has any illusions, he's going to get back to Rialto. That's the direction he has to go.
Yeah.
But, hopefully he doesn't get that far. But I would think it's 420. He's. I would think, Gabe, probably a lot of heavy traffic up ahead.
Yeah, looking ahead of the, looking out the window here, there's a lot of traffic, normal traffic for this hour. A little bit of some open space for him to get around cars here in the immediate area. A little bit heavy volume as we look further north. But the suspect, you know, isn't taking advantage of those options. Like right here, there's all this space for the suspect to either pull over or to go as fast as he could, which we don't want. But you know, he has that option and he's not taking it, which is very kind of curious. And I should mention to you guys, as we head north here, we're going to have to gain elevation to get over the Disneyland TFR. And as we say that, he is taking an exit. That's going to be the 55. We'll see which we'll see which direction he commits to. I believe that might be the southbound 55. And bear with us here as we work with the air traffic controllers to get on the other side of this temporary flight restriction.
Just to clarify, you said 57 south?
No, the 55. This is going to be the 55 south now.
55 south. Sorry.
And I'm hearing this might be the north. He is heading north
55
now.
north.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it looked like.
Let's see. Bear with us here as we try and regain eyes on the suspect here. There's a couple of the CHP vehicles.
So this
pursuit. There he is. So exiting the freeway now. Apologies for that. Back off the freeway. So this is, as you guys were saying, definitely a cat and mouse game. The suspect probably has no idea where he wants to go at this point, and he's getting on the freeway, getting off the freeway, probably realizing he doesn't want to stay on the freeway once he sees the traffic, and then he gets off the freeway. So this is one of those ones that becomes very dangerous because you don't know how it's going to end, and you know you have a suspect that doesn't want to go to jail even though that's what they most certainly know how this is going to end.
Well, this pursuit started around 2:40, so it's been going on now a little over an hour and a half on at least 3 major freeways. He's now back on surface streets being pursued by CHP, who has, in fact, tried a pit maneuver. This driver we've seen him drive at high rates of speed. We've seen him blow through intersections, but then randomly at times, many times, stopping and waiting for lights.
Wait for traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot. The suspect will not run the red lights, which is definitely keeps things a little bit more on the safer side, but it kind of just makes us even more kind of wonder what's going through the suspect's mind. The fact that he has all this time to stop. Looks like he's taking off his jacket now, and you know, you just have to wonder what's going through the suspect's mind when he's waiting at these stoplights or waiting for the light to turn green, and then kind of hitting the gas and peeling in kind of a very arbitrary direction. You know, I don't even think he knows the direction he's going to go when he gets to that.
Here comes the pit maneuver.
And here we go. CHP with the pit. That looks to be a successful pit. Suspect going backwards onto the lawn. And we'll see if that actually brought the engine to a stop. It looks like it has, and that may bring this thing to an end here, folks. Suspect out of the vehicle, hands at least visible, hands not in the air yet. Suspect kind of walking around now, hands are in the air. Now the suspect looks to be looking at the damage. He's not happy with the with the damage here, but you know, he brought this on himself as he's walking around, not particularly following CHP instructions as of yet. I'm going to widen out a little bit and see where CHP is. They have their guns drawn.
That body language is not good.
Yeah.
No.
Not good body language. Now we finally have the hands up, but still he is walking towards the officers, and that's not necessarily what they want to have happen right now. Hands are going up and down and up and down, and that doesn't tell us that this suspect is going to be very compliant in this situation. Continuing to kind of walk around his car and see what's going on, and now hands in the air, continuing to walk around the car on the sidewalk now, and we'll see if he actually continues following the instructions of CHP. Not good body language, as you said. He is not following the directions of officers right now. So we'll see what they decide to do. Maybe they have some less than lethal option. And there he is. He's just going to sit on the curb and call it a day. So there you have it, folks. But that's not necessarily what the CHP wants him to do. They're still going to be calling out orders to have him get proned out on the ground, which is a more safe way for the CHP to take this suspect into custody. Not necessarily what he's doing right now, which is just sitting on the curb after driving around for the better part of the last hour and a half.
Wow. And he's a big guy too.
He's a big guy. You know,
yeah.
It's going to take 3 or 4 officers to subdue him if he decides to fight back. So hopefully they can get him to comply.
And no movement from inside the car, so that's a good, you know, we originally thought maybe there was a passenger there, possibly a child on the lap of the passenger, but it looks like just this guy, but very agitated and not a great body language for these officers. Of course, they train for this, but this is going to be a lot of talking him down and trying to convince him to surrender.
No, I don't think they'll approach him until he rolls over onto his stomach with his arms out.
You can see here CHP with their less than lethal weapons at the ready. They are still giving commands out to the suspect, but he appears to not be listening to those commands, just still kind of waiting, sitting on the curb, just kind of talking to them apparently. But another good point, Lou, that you mentioned is that we didn't see anyone else get out of the car. We still have to wait for CHP to clear the car, but at least no one else jumped out and ran out. And at this point, the car appears to be disabled. So at this point, that part of the pursuit is probably over, and now it's the dangerous part of getting this suspect who is not complying into custody, and we'll see how long that takes here.
Well, you can't, I mean, what an amazing pit maneuver as well on that surface street and not hitting any other vehicles. That car it flipped it around where it was moving, and it could have hit that tree. Actually, it ended up not hitting the tree. But if you're just joining us, the driver was pit maneuvered, I guess if that's a verb, and when he got out of the car, not to surrender, but to check out the damage
on the back of his car.
The vehicle, and was like, oh man, my car got damaged.
Yeah, I don't think.
And now you can see him there in the bottom of our screen on the right, just hanging out. And you know the CHP, they're trying to get him to comply, and he's not having it. But again, you have to remember, this guy called the police in Rialto an hour and a half ago and said he was drunk. And then when they showed up, he jumped in the vehicle and has been driving erratically for those 90 minutes.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black and white units. So that's at least 5 CHP officers. Another vehicle coming up now. That would make 6, 7 black and white units. They may not necessarily all be CHP. It might also be the local police in Santa Ana. But
yeah, we have two canine units from Santa Ana Police Department that just appeared on scene here. So they might be an option to bring the suspect in custody here. And let's see, this other vehicle is also a Santa Ana Police Department vehicle. So that's what you normally see when CHP kind of brings a pursuit to the end on surface streets. And here you go, you have the suspect now hands on his head, which is a better sign than we've seen before. So maybe we'll see the suspect turn,
he probably heard those
himself
dogs
in right now. Say again?
I said he probably heard those canines.
Oh yeah, yeah. You hear that vehicle roll up, and the Santa Ana Police canine come up to the scene, and that's definitely a scary sound. Anytime a suspect would hear that, you know that's gotta, kind of make him think twice about how he wants to bring this to an end. And you see there he is barking. He knows that dog is very excited about maybe what he's about to do right now. Let's widen out and see where the suspect is. Suspect's still with his hands on his head, but the suspect needs to start thinking about. There he goes. Finally.
Well, the scary thing is we still don't know if he's armed or not. So that is, he could walk right up to them.
We still don't know if he's armed, and it was a little scary to see him kind of walk up facing the officers there. But there you have it. He finally turned around. A CHP officer, I believe that's a CHP officer, finally clamping the cuffs on the suspect and bringing this to an end here. And he looks very unhappy, but at least he can say this, that he didn't get bit by one of those Santa Ana Police canine officers that I'm sure would have brought a very painful end to this. And other than that, a safe end to this pursuit. No one else hurt, including the suspect.
Gabe Santos, thank you so much. Good job up above following this pursuit that's been going on for over an hour and a half. We've seen this guy just all over Southern California on freeways, and that last part there where because he's a big guy, he was walking so aggressively towards them. You could see their body language too, sort of thinking, is he going to stop?
Well, he was defiant until he finally got out of the car, and as you said, you could see he was upset because of the damage to the back of his car from the first time they tried the pit maneuver. But he just sat down on the sidewalk, but he would not comply with the officer's request for him to, to roll over and in a prone position. But it's amazing, once the canine unit from the Santa Ana Police showed up, a total change in attitude.
Yep. All right, so this brings a conclusion to this pursuit. For KTLA and Glenn Walker and the entire KTLA team, I'm Lou Parker. Have a great afternoon. More news at 6 o'clock.
Enjoy your weekend.